For a very long time in America, democracy and the mechanics of voting was viewed as sacred.
We've moved away from a nation where we have a common set of facts.
At no time up to 2016 did I think democracy would be in the balance if the other side won.
Midterm elections have often served as a referendum on the political party of the sitting president.
We were held accountable yesterday.
The cumulative effect, however, was not too close. It was a thumping.
I'm not recommending for every future president that they take a shellacking like I did last night.
But rarely, if ever, have the midterm elections served as a referendum on the electoral system itself. Yet, according to Democrats and some Republicans, the 2022 midterms are shaping up to be just that.
No one of any party should be voting for people who are election deniers.
Your right to vote, even our democracy is on the ballot.
We can't keep having elections that nobody can live with, and we can't have this level of fraud.
The majority of Republican candidates for federal and statewide office this November have denied or questioned the results of the 2020 election, including the Republican gubernatorial nominees in 4 of 6 states Trump contested in 2020. Most of these election deniers nationwide are expected to win this November.
Misinformation is one of the most significant and dangerous forces at work. That is what has made election denialism about the 2020 election the price of admission in many Republican primaries.
You see lots of election officials trying to counter the misinformation that is out there. And the challenge for them is the sheer volume of misinformation.
Experts say this disinformation has also strained the electoral system through increased litigation, voting restrictions, and threats to election workers. Today, more than 70% of Americans, including Democrats, Republicans, and independents, say that U.S. democracy is under threat.
There are governors and attorneys general and secretaries of state who are making preparations for a scenario in which an outcome is questioned.
The fact that there are election deniers on the ballot and that there has been this rise in state laws to politicize, interfere with, and criminalize aspects of election administration is a real threat that could extend beyond this election.
2 armed people in ski masks outside this ballot drop-off location.
A coalition of GOP groups filed a lawsuit asking the court to block undated mail ballots,
stacking traditionally Democratic polling places with Republican poll workers.
There are increasing challenges to the electoral system. The amount of election litigation has risen across the country over the past 2 decades, according to research from Richard Hassan. Election litigation in 2020 rose more than 25% compared to 2016. Mis- and disinformation has forced Pennsylvania officials to repeatedly defend their elections in court.
We've definitely had to shift resources, hire more staff. We are using outside counsel in addition to the Office of General Counsel and the Office of Attorney General. We've also seen a record number of right-to-know requests, which are public records requests. And many of these are dealing with the 2020 election while they're in the process of administering a 2022 election.
Mis- and disinformation has led to increased threats for election workers.
Election officials and election workers are leaving their jobs because they don't want to put up with these threats.
Mis- and disinformation also led to a spate of laws restricting voting access the year after Trump's loss. These laws were often pitched in the name of shoring up elections, even as those same states touted their election administration months prior.
The way Florida did it, I think inspires confidence. I think that's how elections should be run.
And me signing this bill here says, Florida, your vote counts. Your vote is going to be cast with integrity and transparency.
At the local level, states have put forth a multi-pronged approach to bolster the election process.
In 2020, it was particularly difficult for election officials to contend with absentee voting because many states saw it at a level they had never seen before.
This approach has included increased resources, partnerships with federal agencies to protect election workers, and information campaigns to counter mis- and disinformation.
Combating mis- and disinformation is really the biggest challenge that we're facing right now because there's so many different social media platforms and so many different ways people are consuming this media that could chill the vote.
Perception plays a big role here because in Wisconsin and Michigan and some other states, they can't start counting absentee ballots until the day of election. That takes longer to count. And when you have that gap, you have an opportunity for those who want to spread misinformation to question why the results aren't coming in, even though that's the normal process.
At the federal level, efforts to expand voting access have stalled. But one significant effort could pass Congress by the end of the year, clarifying the Electoral Count Act of 1887.
You go into 2020 and we see really an outside communication effort that said, January 6th is a day where we can reverse the outcome.
Peter Meyer is one of several House Republicans who support efforts to clarify the Electoral Count Act. The act sets out the procedures for counting the Electoral College votes after a presidential election. Trump allies tried to use the law on January 6th to overturn the 2020 election.
By raising the threshold down the line and making future electoral college objections less frequent, it takes us off the path that we are currently on right now, which is whoever the losing party is, this is their way of showing frustration.
I think we'll pass the Electoral Count Act, but I continue to be worried about the dark money and the outside money that you see being spent.
It's fundamentally frightening when money plays such a huge role in who gets elected.
The reforms, I think, are absolutely essential if we're going to preclude any president or any group or any faction arguing that somehow the election was stolen. It was not stolen. The courts are set up for that.
I get to appoint the Secretary of State, and the road to 2024 goes straight through Pennsylvania.
If we get all of our secretaries of state elected around the country like this, we take our country back.
They're not going to be winning anymore because we're going to have Jim Marchant and Christine Caramo and Mark Fincham and people in the counting room around the green table.
We'll be able to view both 2020 and 2022 as staging grounds to 2024 over this battle over how elections are conducted.
I don't think it's fair to characterize the entire red Republican base as being ready to overturn elections. My optimism, such that I have it, is that there are too many good people across the political spectrum who really believe in the 240-year government that we've had.
If the Republicans took the House of Representatives at a time of crisis in the world, America, which is the light of democracy, will be, to some degree, rendered less able to accomplish that objective.
The scenario that we should be most worried about is a subverted election, meaning an election where the declared winner is not the candidate who was chosen by the voters.
We're getting to a point where it's okay to accept a result when you win and to not accept a result when you lose. And that is not how it's supposed to work, and that is not a way forward for democracy to survive.